So this week I am in New York and it is freezing cold.
This is all lies. We are walking around Austin, Texas, and it's about 70 degrees.
Oh, right. I'm in shorts currently, but the episode that you're about to hear is me in New York as bundled up as humanly possible because it is freezing cold, it's snowing. We actually had some guests booked who backed out because it was so cold they didn't really want to go walking.
Cowards.
So luckily, Alan Berliner invited me over to his studio. We didn't have to walk outside. What transpires is one of my favorite things that I've ever done, which is to get to have a studio tour led by Alan Berliner, which you are about to witness here on Doc Walks.
So this week on Dog Walks, Ben solo in New York, studio visit with legendary doc filmmaker,
The one and only
Alan Berliner.
Here
All right.
you go.
Check it out. Ding, 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 ding.
On your left.
You're listening to Doc Walks with Ben and Keith.
Okay, we are rolling, and I'm about to do a marker
Do I
here.
need to point too?
Yep. Okay, ready?
Wait, but I'm.
But it's okay that it's on you.
Okay,
ready?
One,
Marker.
two.
Hey!
One more. There we go.
All right, how'd that feel?
Oh, good. My hand hurts. That's good. No, it's fine. It's fine. It was a good sound. It was for the sound.
I think that means that it worked.
Yeah.
So I am here in New York City with one of my filmmaking idols, Alan Berliner, in what feels like the antithesis of the outside of this studio, which is very bustling, it's busy, it's cold, it's New York City. But then I step inside and I see this incredible studio space here at Alan's studio, and I am so thrilled to be standing here. So Alan, I just want to say first and foremost, thank you for hosting me here at your studio space. And I kind of just want you to take us around and just show me what you're most excited to show me.
Sure. I'll give you the tour.
Yeah.
A tour. There's no the tour, but I'll give you a tour. I'm going to press this button so I can be point of view. Let's come over here towards these cabinets that most people walk by and think is just a cabinet that I put things on, but it's not quite just a cabinet. There are 4 black cabinets, each is 27 drawers. It's a total of 108 drawers. This is a work that I made. So don't concern yourself at the moment with what's on the cabinet or on the wall. Let's just talk about the cabinet for a second. Cabinet is a work that I made a long time ago in 1993, and it's called Audiophile. Let me show you what it is first, then I'll tell you at the time. The drawer that I like to show people as a sort of way into the work is this drawer over here called No Trespassing. Every drawer has its own title, has its own name, and this one, they're alphabetical. It goes from All News Radio at the left top to Wits End at the bottom right, and I'll show you both. But here's No Trespassing. So when you open No Trespassing, the drawer, a dog starts barking. So now, just so you know, you can open up one drawer at a time, 2, 10, 30, 57, 82. You can open up all 108 drawers at the same time, which makes it a kind of instrument. Think of it as a sound sculpture, certainly, but it's an instrument. And here's a drawer called Perfect Pitch. There's a tape recorder in every drawer, all right? A cassette tape recorder, and it used to run on loop cassettes. There's a loop cassette, 30-second loop cassettes, depending, because there's poetry here and music and sound effects, all sorts of different kinds of sounds. But about 2 years ago, I'll shut it off for a second. 2 years ago, I took out all the loop cassettes and I put in digital cards. So now it's a digital card.
Wow.
Now it's a digital work.
Okay, so it's been updated.
It's been updated for the 21st century. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, this Perfect Pitch, it just so happens goes very well with Wits End, the bottom right drawer. He's screaming an A for the record. It just so you can't plan that. You can't plan that, but it just so happened.
Wow. So how did the idea for this come to you?
Well, I've always kept things in, like to keep things in drawers. I'll show you more drawers that don't have sound. And it just, well, come over here, I'll show you real quick. This is not a direct, how should we say, genealogy of audiophile, but it's related. There's another set of cabinets, but these have objects. It's a little kind of museum that I keep. But so here's like a drawer called Nuts and Bolts. And well, what do you say? There's nuts and bolts.
Wow.
But the drawer that I wanted to show you initially is a drawer called Bells. And you might say that is a drawer with sound.
Yes, and I can see, yes, the direct line between
Yeah,
that and the
yeah.
sound
So I
sculpture.
thought, well, what if there was a drawer called Opera, you know? And there is this opera in audiophile. And so, you know, this has things made of plastic, things made of metal, things made of wood, things, rusted things,
Wow.
carpet, you know, puzzles.
So for those of you who are not watching this episode and listening, Alan is showing me, what would you guess, 200, 300
There are
small
again
drawers?
27 times 5.
So
No,
that's 135
drawers here.
135 labeled drawers.
Yeah.
This one is called eye masks. And you pull it out and it's full of, you guessed it, eye masks.
Yeah.
And these are metal, meticulously labeled, symmetrical
There's eyeglasses,
drawers.
right?
Wow.
Found, given to me, you know. By the way, there is a practical side to this, dimension to this.
Yeah.
This is my office supply zone. Rubber bands, paper clips,
Wow.
right?
Oh, you have one for business cards. That's
I have
so-
2 for business cards, actually. Yeah, that's one of them.
Oh, that is so smart.
And then, yeah, here's the more current
Wow.
one. They're both quite full.
Yes, quite full.
Yeah,
have you ever actually looked for somebody's business card and pulled it out of there?
No. I just used to save them. I mean, if someone gives me one, I'm happy to include it in here. You have one?
I
But,
wonder if
yeah.
actually I didn't give you a business card
Might
at some
have-
point.
might be- if you did, it's here. Yeah. So anyway, there's that. And then shipping and envelopes. This is interesting because this one is called cutting, and it includes things for taking things apart.
Sure.
Knives and scissors and etc., razor blades. This is called pasting, things for putting things together. Tape, staples, cable ties, yeah, all sorts of things like that. This is for measuring things, everything from a tape measure to electronic tapes and rulers, etc. This is for labeling, and there is in fact a labeler,
Wow.
you know, etc. So it's just about a kind of efficiency.
This is organization on an entirely different level. And I'm so glad that you showed us the cutting drawer, because behind this is your editing station,
yeah.
sort of like the command central portion of the
mission control, but we'll get to that.
Mission control.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll get to that. Yeah.
And of course, I can't help but notice also you have so many reels
Well, we're
and
not up to that yet.
spindles. Oh,
We're
I'm
not up
sorry,
to
we're
that.
building
It's
up
okay.
to that.
We're building-
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
we're gonna
jumping
get to
ahead.
that.
Okay.
By the way, this is an interesting category because everyone has one of these or could have one of these if they wanted to, which is lock and key. These are all keys and locks and keychains that I've ever had or that I found or been given to me.
Wow.
You know, here's a key, an actual functional one, a key with a lock. A lock with a key, I should say, because a lot of these are orphans, you know. It's the key without the lock or the lock without the key,
Right.
you know. But anyway, and that's a heavy drawer, by the way, because it's all metal, right?
Well, that's interesting that you use that phrase orphans, because so much of what I know about your process and your work is that you are sort of a home, a repository for orphaned media. You collect other people's family photo albums, other people's home movies. So that's interesting, the term orphan.
Very true. I always
This is
tell
like a-
people, if you want to give me your stuff, I'll hold it here. And many people have over the years.
Yeah.
You know, I'll save it for them. I'll hold it if they want it back. you know, I'll give it a place.
And if it makes its way into your work, then that's part of the tax.
Then I always say, but if I turn it into something else, I can't exactly give it back to you. Not without a fight, anyway. Yeah. So let's go back to audio file.
Okay.
I gave you the gist of it. I've only opened 1 and 2 drawers at a time. I'll just do something with multiple drawers opening, just to give you a sense of how you can compose with it a little more elaborately. So here's a drawer called Ascending. Remember, it's alphabetical. Here's a drawer called Descending. Here's a drawer called Symbol. Here's a drawer called G minor. Here's a drawer called Random Notes. Three-minute egg. Not working. Wow. Whoa.
Oh, there it went.
Did you hear? Okay, you heard it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Go hear it. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's working. It's working. Intensive care. Perfect pitch works well in this composition too. Fast forward from videotape. Draw called Canned Laughter. Canned Laughter. Anyway, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 drawers open. There are 108. We could keep going.
Wow, you're like a one-man orchestra.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's supposed to be a little fun. It's supposed to be fun.
It's beautiful. And you know what's interesting about that is that that's almost a live demonstration of what I think that I understand about your editing process. And I've heard you described, or I've read you described as a one-man orchestra, in that you write, shoot, edit, direct, produce your films.
Yeah.
And that they are this multi-layered sensory experience
Right.
a lot of the time. And
Yeah.
we just saw a version of that in action.
Right.
Do you agree with that assessment?
I agree with that, sure. We could talk about more about that, because that's come up with this new film that I just made.
Oh, great.
Everything that you see around you, well, let me point it, everything that's around us here, all these reels, I'll just give you an example. This is a 9-part work. It's titled Slow Dissolve, and it moves from a reel of film that's untouched and pristine to one that's been damaged in a flood a little bit, to another that's been damaged in a flood a little bit more, to another that's been damaged in a flood yet a little bit more, to another that's been damaged in a flood, yes, you get it, more, and then more, and then more, and then more, and then finally we're at this place of just grain, dust,
Wow.
And this is about what a filmmaker does with the elements of film, the tools of film, of motion picture film.
Right.
When, in this case, when I don't use them to make films anymore.
Right.
So I'm just still making films. I'm still working with 16mm film, reels, tools, leader, actual film, and the like. But in this, it's no longer about a projected light beam on a screen. It's now I've changed I've exchanged, if you will, the theater, the dark room, for a lit gallery wall.
Yeah.
So everything that you see around here is a part of that. The body of work in its totality is called Think Like a Filmmaker. Think Like a Filmmaker.
Think Like a Filmmaker. Yeah. That might be the title of your episode. We always take a phrase.
Love it. Love it.
And that, I think Like a Filmmaker with Alan Berliner sounds right.
I endorse that, yeah. So there are a lot of different parts to Think Like a Filmmaker.
So this is a gallery experience on this side of the partition.
Everything, both sides.
Okay.
There's just so much of it. There's no, from my perspective, there's not an empty wall in the whole place. So, you know, but I just want to give you an example. Like, I call them special effects. Like, this could never exist in real life with red here and black and white here. There's no, you can't do that.
Right.
So this is a sort of, it's a special effect. It could only exist through the magical intervention of someone who knows how to create an illusion.
Right.
It's a magic trick. This actually can't exist either in real life. You know, this one certainly can't exist in real life because there's film here and there's no film here. This one also can't exist in real life. Another special effect because there's only film on the outside. There's a thread through a lot of the work. It's what I call square the circle. These were actual reels of film that I then squared the circle. I worked with a metalsmith, to square the circle. All these three used to be circular reels, you know, and then I squared the circle. There are a lot of them hanging around.
And so for our listeners who aren't watching this, I'm looking at 16 millimeter reels of film on the wall hung as an art show in a gallery, and all of the reels have been manipulated in this really novel, very beautiful way to, as Alan is saying, to basically not be like you could ever see the reels of film if they were being used functionally. So they're all colored, or the circular reels have been turned into squares. What else am I missing?
There's more. You'll see. I've done a lot of things. This is a little sequence. It goes from a reel with a color to a black reel with different color. Then it becomes wire.
Oh, wow.
Then the wire gets to be a little more chaotic and wilder.
Yeah.
And then finally there's using wire instead of film, and then you see that we end up with and those of people who are watching or listening who have worked with 16 millimeter film, you know that if you turn your head, look the wrong way while you're winding film, you can make spaghetti, a mess like, you know, wild spaghetti, and that's an illusion.
But you did that purposefully.
I did it
for that one.
Of course. I can't show you everything because it would take too much time.
Yeah,
but,
there's so much to look at.
This is you know, when I made this work, I started to think about that film was metal and plastic. So this is a metal reel, and I found plumbers use this stuff. There's a word for it. I keep forgetting. When they want to attach things to the walls, pipes and stuff.
Yeah, sure, right.
There's a word for it. But
yeah,
anyway, it has a hole in it, like a sprocket hole. And so it's metal film. Metal machine, metal reel, metal film, take up all metal object.
Unbelievable.
Projector. This is two reels that are interconnected, you know. It's one object. You know, I'll skip this stuff because there's a lot of details. We don't have so much time for that.
Okay. Well, Alan, I'm sitting here thinking, like, I know you as a documentary filmmaker. You make these beautiful personal essay films, but so far you've showed me all of your sculptural works and your audio installations, and I'm so interested in the fact that we're focusing on you as a fine artist in a way rather than as a documentarian. And I wonder, like, do you see a distinction between those things, or does it all sort of just fall under the umbrella of work for you?
Well, it's work. I don't really, when I come here to this studio, I don't really think of it as work. I think of it as play. And that's even for both the sculptural stuff and the films. So
right, sure.
I've been doing this even when I was not graduated from college as an undergraduate.
Yeah.
I had a senior thesis, and then they gave me a room to have a gallery show.
Wow.
That's when I'm like 20 years old. So I've been doing this for a very long time.
Very long. Yeah, I was going to say the collecting couldn't have come later in life. It seems like that was probably how you were as a kid, too.
Exactly. So this is all part of who I am. And there was a time when I had to like figure out the rhythm of that and So I would do I would do audio file. I made audio file in between a film I made called Intimate Stranger and then a film that I made called Nobody's Business. It was in between, you know? And so it used to be that it was like film and installation project, a kind of rhythm.
Yeah.
This time it landed differently. COVID, you know, I started this during COVID. I couldn't make a film then. So it's how I breathe. You know?
Right.
It's what I do, period.
I love it.
Thanks.
That's great.
Thanks. Okay, just real quick. So this is another one of these Square the Circle. These are reels that's a regular 60mm film reel, but when you square the circle, you get this sort of weather vane shape. So this is sort of like a grid, if you will, of that. And then, of course, there are different people around the world have different color reels and different shape reels, you know, and then there's different color leader, plastic color leader. So I have a couple of works like this. This is called Kodachrome, but I also have a work called Ectochrome and other works that are in grid form, but this is an example of that. Then these here, they were all reels, circular reels, like, you know, like regular reels.
Right.
And I had each of them squared, the circle squared. So I had all these reels, the circles squared, and then I glue them together. So this is like now a sculptural object.
Wow.
You know?
That is, and so where are you getting all these 16mm?
Well, first
film
of all, I collect things and save things. So I had a lot of it. And now a lot of people have given me, when they know that I'm doing stuff out of it, I mean, that's what COVID was for me. I thought to myself, what am I going to do during COVID? I can't really make a film. And so I went into the basement and I found all these boxes all filled with reels and leader and film and stuff that I'd saved. And I realized that for me, COVID was, and I'm not trying to downplay the gravity of what COVID was, but for me, as an artist, COVID was my rainy day.
Yeah.
I said, why'd you save all, to myself, why'd you save all this stuff? I guess you were waiting for a rainy day when you figure out what to do with it.
Right.
COVID was my rainy day for this.
Some people were making banana bread and
Absolutely.
you were making sculptures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, all of these are all objects, metal objects, sculptures made from cinematic things. This one, I cut an arc out. You know, it's what's missing from there would basically be this.
So for our listeners, this is a tabletop full of 16mm film reels that are stacked and then cut into shapes that you have not seen before. And they're in varying patterns and colors. And this is just an entirely new way to think about how to use 16mm film.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, now let's go to this thing behind me. Okay, I'm going to turn it on. It turns on down here. This is a work, then if you go down there to the left for a bit, this is a work that's called Parts and Labor, and that's the title card.
Oh, right here, Parts and Labor. Wow.
Now, this had its genesis during COVID, when I save, as you can tell, I save a lot of little things. And during COVID, what I did a lot is I took things apart.
Okay.
I like I'm not good at I like to put things together, but I'm not electronically attuned. I'm not, I don't really know how things work, but I like to take things apart.
Okay.
And then organize the parts. And so this is it's about 22, 23 feet long.
Wow.
And it's 534 frames. And it's kind of like a scroll. It's kind of like a storyboard. It's kind of like a cinematic, an unfolding set of intersecting cinematic sequences, but it's also a machine, all right? There are electronics behind here, and it's filled with cinematic logic. Things are moving. You could follow the sequence of things horizontally.
Yeah.
You know, there are sequences vertically. It moves through zones of animation-like sequences in like a storyboard kind of way. It moves through, very complicated to make. It took a long time.
I believe it. And you're right now that you mentioned the logic, because it does look like each frame talks to the other one.
Everything is exactly where it is for I mean, I could talk you
Wow.
through, you got 10 hours, I'll talk you through everything, you know?
And they're like washers, and they're razor blades, and they're springs, and there's all kinds of
Rusted
like
razor blades too.
little parts
Yeah.
that all make interesting shapes and
Yeah.
colors and textures. I've never seen anything like
Well,
this.
thanks. Music is coming out of this speaker, okay? There's a digital clock over here. This is, by the way, it's another thing is that it's a monument, is that the right word? A monument, no, but it's
Homage?
an homage to analog media, an old rotary telephone, you know. This is a motion sensor. That fan will not move unless someone's in the purview of this
Wow.
thing. That fan is spinning all the time.
Okay.
There is actually a video camera here. That's a video monitor
Oh, you're kidding.
in a transparency frame, you know, like a slide.
So there we are right there. Oh yeah, I did a shot of that.
It's all right. I'll walk out of the way. Yeah. This light, which looks like it's illuminated.
Uh-huh.
Can you see it? Yeah.
Yep.
It's not really, because that's a laser beam that's going through and through that aperture to light it up.
Wow.
Here's an analog clock. You know.
Wow.
Again, you know, that's from a 45 record album.
LP, yeah.
LP, yeah. That's an old Kodak lens, filter rather. That's a typewriter ribbon.
And I can't help but notice that things have kind of gone from like monochrome
Yep,
to
yep.
black and white
Yep.
to now we're in a red zone.
That's right. And then a
Going to
blue, and there's the blue. That's an old pencil. That's a pencil sharpener. By the way, this is this VU meter
Uh-huh.
is the VU meter for that music,
Oh, come on.
for real.
Alan. Wow.
Yeah. That's an analog watch face. That's a counter.
This is incredible.
Thanks. That's a dump truck that's dumped a lot of stuff over here. I have a reference to cinema and projection. The light is shining through these various
Oh, right.
lenses and prisms, you know.
Wow.
And then it moves through all the different colors to a sort of spectral phase where it all culminates here. And I admit I made a mistake when I made it at the beginning. I thought that I should make the on-off button part of the work.
Okay.
And that's what this was going to be. And I learned from making things like audiophile and other interactive things, when you give someone the opportunity to turn it on and off, that's what someone's going to do, you know, play God
Right.
all the time. So I thought and they'll break it, or who
Right.
knows, not a good thing. So, but I said, if I leave it here, someone's going to want to still play with it. So you see how everything kind of culminates here. So now, if someone presses this, it makes the sound of electricity, which looks like that's where we ended up here with all these
Yes.
modulating colors, you know, at the end here. So for as long as you hold it down, it'll make the sound of electricity and these colors. So the on-off button can either be hidden or somewhere off-site with that box on the floor.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Anyway, it's called Parts and Labor, and again, 534 frames
Wow.
of information.
And it's as meticulous as one of your films. I mean, it's put together so
Just-
beautifully.
yeah, it's just how I do it.
Wow.
So, but thank you.
Incredible.
Okay,
Thank you.
Sure. Just another quick thing. This is a real, hold on, I'm going to flip this around for a second. This is a reel composed entirely of movie tickets,
Wow.
paper movie tickets.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, so of different colors.
That's incredible. And
And-
it's going through a splicer.
It's going through a splicer, and I've actually cut off, hold on, you see the splicer. I've cut off one of them, you know, emit one over here, you see that. And then I assembled the colors in the same order on this thing. I'm not quite sure what you call it, but you see it at Chinese restaurants or something.
Right.
And so I consider this a single frame animation.
Wow, Alan. Just the time it would have taken you to do that is incredible.
But anyway, so I get the, you know, the movie tickets and the splicer and the reel, this film strip of the tickets, and then the film result at the end.
And again, for those of you listening, this is probably a 35 millimeter film reel, completely filled all the way to the very edge with paper admit one ticket rolls of all different colors. So the amount of time it would have taken you to put those together and to thread that through, and then to have it go through the splicer, and then on top of where you stab tickets,
Yeah.
you have the same color coordinated tickets in a pattern creating a sculptural shape next to it. So I would guess this was probably hundreds of hours.
Well, it was a long time, yeah. Okay, so moving right along. By the way, this shot right here makes it seem like there are a lot of things around here. It's all gridded things. But I'm going to turn this piece on. This is, what I'm about to show you is like 15 or so examples of a body of work within Think Like a Filmmaker that I call translucence.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
I have
So
to
this
turn it
piece is called Translucence.
Yeah, these are just examples of translucence. But I have, by the way, see all these white boxes around? That's more work that can't, there's no, I have like 200 or more pieces that I can only show. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's a lot. There are a lot more of these too.
Wow.
Okay, just take another angle here for you.
So a bank of light boxes just lit up, and they are interspersed amongst metallic shelves that completely cover the walls here of your studio. And in front of the light boxes are 16mm film reels that have all been manipulated, carved, etched into different sculptures.
Well, usually in the traditional way of thinking of cinema, film is run through a projector, and the shadow of that film is what we see on the screen, right? The film runs through the light, goes through the film strip, it goes through a lens, and it's projected on the screen. This acknowledges that film is translucent, but I'm not projecting anything. I'm using the actual object of the film as the translucent object. The film is the translucent object. And I'll just say it a different way. For instance, you see this part right here? Okay? That's called, filmmakers would know this is something called clear leader. All right? This is 16mm film. Everything here is real. So if you projected this on the screen, ran it through a projector, it would be a rectangle of white light. Okay? This is also clear leader, but it has a little bit of a blue tint. If you projected that on the screen, it would be a rectangle of light blue light. This, which is the same as this, if you projected that on the screen, it would be a kind of midnight blue rectangle on the screen. But you know, clear leader is made, I didn't know this, as now I know very well, but at the time I didn't realize there were so many different tonalities of clear leader. Like it could be white, but it could be a little off-white or yellowish or goldish or orange or even a dark, like a red, an amber. So I start to play with it, you know, and then I found color reels that are plastic that have different transparencies. Here's black and that sort of off-white gold color. This is actually computer chips, a roll of computer chips that looks like 8mm film.
Oh, come on.
That's
really?
for real. Yeah, wow. Same thing here. This moire is from computer chips, but that's an actual reel.
That's incredible.
An 8mm reel.
And you got it to moire in those patterns.
It's just when you wind it on it, that's what it looks like.
Wow.
Yeah. Here's a one with a blue, you know, 3 different kinds of blue. These are like minimal compositions, geometric compositions. Orange and blue, different blues. This is, remember Square the Circle? I pointed out the weather vane thing.
Yeah.
So this is just winding white leader on a reel whose circle has been squared, and this black here is film. It's not a reel.
Wow.
You know, and then here's more of that sort of sunset, radiating light. You know, here's a Kodak reel.
Incredible.
You know.
Alan, I just love that your brain works this way. This is normally not what people see, this part of the film. They're watching the film that is encased in these objects.
Right.
But you are making the objects the star of the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And so I don't know if I can cover it here, but I'll just give you an example. It's been exhibited once, but when it's exhibited on a wooden shelf, and these are rewinds, and I can screw the rewinds into a wooden shelf, viewers can come and turn.
Wow.
You know, and turn. You getting that? It creates all sorts of optical illusions.
Yeah, different shapes.
That take place if things go in reverse, different kind of things. And I have like 50 of these reels. This is just 15. To be honest with you, these aren't even the best ones.
Wow.
But it doesn't matter. They're good enough.
Alan, this is incredible.
Thanks.
Yes, and then you're flanked by just an unbelievable amount of binders and boxes and
you know,
labeled
the wall
film
here, the wall
reels.
here is, you have red boxes, orange boxes, yellow. Red is black and white film, orange is sound, yellow is color film, green are home movies, 16 millimeter of course. The blue is my family home movies that I took, that my father took from my family. The purple, the violet is photographs that I gathered from around the world, but also love letters and found ephemera from around the world. And then the black are photographs I cut out of the newspaper, the New York Times, for over 40 years. Although that's just the tip of the iceberg. I have boxes and boxes more of them. This is just what I was doing in the early days of that. And then these two shelves up here are found photo albums, orphan family photo albums.
Wow.
Yeah. These are all the loose leaves are files. I just decided a long time ago, why have everything in file cabinets when if I put them in loose leaves, I could take them with me on the subway and read things on the way home, and it would be, you know, and I could continue to add to it. So that's what that
So
is.
in this one right here that's labeled television, like what would be in that one?
Well, not to be confused with video art or video editing or visual perception. Let's see. Pick a card. Pick a card, any card.
Pick a card, any card.
So these are, well, here's an article from May 28th, 1992. Bush says school children watch too much TV. How viewers get addicted to television, grow addicted to television.
And so these are Xerox copies
of newspaper
of
articles.
newspaper articles.
Yeah.
Wow.
I once had a job where I could sneak in at night to the Xerox machines. Life without television is a pressing issue in Fiji. Soviet TV viewers hear Moscow denounced. The video age and the wall that opened. BBC study finds US TV more violent.
Wow.
US TV portrayals of girls cited. Literally entranced by television, children metabolize more slowly, etc. So it's articles on the dark side of television.
Alan, you are an archivist. This is really
Well, that's just one of the
incredible
things going on around here. Oh, you know, it's not the best light for this, but come.
Okay.
You know, Ben, I'm a filmmaker, and I like title sequences, okay?
Sure.
I haven't had the kind of exhibition of this the way I want to, and I hope to one day. Anyone listening, if any of this intrigues you, let me know. But if this would be the first thing that you would see if you walked into a gallery and this work was exhibited.
Okay.
Come over here. I'll give you the best shot. So that's the title of the film.
Oh, come on. And
It's-
that's what we
think-
said the title of the episode should be.
Yeah. So it's a piece of clear leader in which with a Sharpie, and that's how filmmakers write on film, on clear leader with a Sharpie, think like a filmmaker. It's being magnified by this lens. It's being articulated by these other lenses. So this is the title shot. When you come into the gallery, this is what you would see.
Oh my gosh, Alan, this is incredible.
Right? And the truth is, what makes this better is it depends what's behind it. Okay?
Right.
Now I have that wall over there with the reel with all the movie tickets.
Yeah.
But if I move, those walls are on wheels. If I took those away and it was daylight, which it's sort of waning now, the daylight, but it would be more interesting visually, that's all.
Well, everything is soft focus in the background there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, it depends where you stand and everything.
Okay.
But you can see it you can see it?
Yeah. I
Think
can
like a
see
filmmaker,
I
at
can
least?
see it better with my naked eye, but I think it will pick up in here.
I'm going to actually go behind it myself to see. Is it can you see me?
You are magnified quite a bit.
Too much, right?
Yeah. I can see it now. I can read it through the
Okay,
camera. Wow. I love this so much.
Thanks.
So are you going to make a film out of
No.
this work?
No.
This would be as the title for the
That'd be
gallery
title.
show.
If you walked in the gallery, that's the first thing you'd see.
This would be
I
it.
want to show you one more thing while I have you here, real quick.
Okay.
This
yes.
is a very important piece of the work. Can I bring you over here?
Please.
Yeah. By the way, this is yarn, Willet yarn that I wound on the film. It's soft, it's soft.
Wow. And
Yeah.
this looks like a different film reel.
It's 35 millimeter. It's a wire. It's called a wire reel.
Okay.
Yeah. This one over here, that's an actual piece of a tree.
That's a woodcut. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a piece of a tree. And so the metaphor here is that this concentricity, the winding, like all films contain film that's wound, is the story of the tree.
Wow.
It's a story, right?
Right.
It's like, so it's a great metaphor for the whole thing. And as much as it's the story of the tree, it's also the story of the era in which the tree grew,
Wow.
for people who know how to decode that, right? And this too, this is wood.
No.
Yeah, it's veneer that's
Right.
60, that's made of wood, unpainted, that I found that was 60 millimeters wide. So all I had to do was wind it on this reel. So these two are wood, and this is wood too.
So you made a wood film reel with a.
Yeah, well, I
With the
bought
wooden
it, but, yeah,
figurine.
and I grew the wooden figurine and the mannequin, yeah. Yeah.
This is
Okay,
incredible.
I want to show you one more thing, and then we'll,
I feel like I've heard that a few times
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Oh, and one more thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll let you stand
Come in.
here.
Okay.
You stay here. Come, take a step back.
Okay.
You got a wide angle? You're a wide angle?
I've got a wide angle.
Okay. So I'm gonna turn the light on for more drama.
Okay.
You ready?
Ready. Wow.
This is the edit room for all that stuff.
So this is your workshop.
That's my workshop. Yeah.
This is incredible.
Yeah. It used to just be the archive room before COVID, but kind of got taken over.
Oh, sure. You can see the archive boxes.
Yeah. Those I took out from there because I put translucence in. Wow. But here, this is fallen over. That's not good. Yeah. But anyway,
This is unbelievable. And so then you have boxes that.
those are the outtakes. Those are not outtakes. Those are the papers, the important remains of every film I've made.
Wow.
So you see, these are the papers worth saving from Wide Awake. These are the papers worth saving from The Sweetest Sound. These 6 are the paper, everything that was worth saving from Nobody's Business, Intimate Stranger, the family album,
Wow.
et cetera, et cetera. And then other installation projects I've made and so forth. So this room is filled with unfinished works and works that are ideas that are a little evolved, that are seeds for ideas, bad ideas, works that didn't quite make it, but are still worth keeping around because they're suggesting possibilities for the future. I just have to decode all that. But everything's here for a reason, to remind me of something,
Wow.
you know?
Alan, I can see now why you are the first film director that we've spoken to on our podcast whose every film is in the MoMA's permanent collection.
I see. Oh, well, thank you.
Because you are so clearly working at sort of the intersection between film and fine art.
That's a little bit of a problem too, because the film people say, well, that's art, and the art people say, well, that's film, you know? So I have to find people who understand the intersection and the connections and
Right.
that you can do both and be both, and how each of these different parts of the practice inform one another. That's really what it's about for me.
That makes sense. So when you think of yourself, when you meet somebody new for the first time, how do you describe yourself or what you do to them?
You know, listen, I've had gallery openings and I'm the artist, you know, and when I'm a filmmaker, I'm the filmmaker. I don't really, those words don't really mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
I just do what I do.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter. Because even in that, like, are these documentaries? Is experimental documentaries? Are they essays? Are they portraits? What do you do? I don't care. Those words, just see the film and let's talk about it. The words don't matter to me so much. Are you the producer? Are you the director? The editor? You're the writer? What? You know, those aren't even the important credits. And see that thing up there, the cardboard things?
Yeah.
That's a reel of a film. Just so you know, I've been doing this for a really long time. I made that in 1977.
No way.
You weren't even born yet.
I was born that year.
Okay, in the year that you were born, I made that. And that's, you see the corrugated cardboard?
Yeah.
They're broken into frames, and there's like a sequence of things. And that's the that's the reel that's full. The cardboard reel below it, which is nothing, that's the take-up reel.
Oh,
And
amazing.
I thread them through a viewer, which I have here somewhere. And that's a paper film. I used to make paper films. I still do.
Wow.
But that's a paper film that I made.
You know what is something that's so interesting to me about you is that you grew up in Queens, you went to undergrad here in New York, and then you went to graduate school in Oklahoma, which I am I'm from Kansas and Oklahoma.
sure.
So you went to the University of Oklahoma down the street from where I grew up.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine the culture shock that you
Right.
must have experienced.
Right.
Yeah, going to OU. What was that time like for you?
Well, you know, that's a perfect question for this part of the conversation, because Oklahoma, in effect, you excuse the expression because it's mostly associated with sports,
Yeah.
but Oklahoma recruited me
Interesting.
to teach and get a master's degree, an MFA at the School of Art. You want to continue here, right here? It's up to you. Or you want to go sit down on chairs?
Let's go sit down.
Okay.
That'd be nice.
So hold on, wait. You know something here? Just to make a nice shot out of it, Ben. When you leave the room, I'll turn the lights off. Go ahead.
Oh, I love it. Okay, ready?
Wait, no, I'm not ready. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, action.
So I'll tell you all the Oklahoma stuff, and we'll sit down here.
Okay.
I'll sit here. You'll sit here.
Great.
But before I just want to show you one thing.
Yeah. I think that could be an alternate title for this
Right.
episode.
One more thing.
One more thing.
The nicest thing that anyone has ever said to me about my studio is that there's a lot of stuff in here, but it feels calm.
I absolutely agree with
And
that.
that meant a lot to me because I didn't do that on purpose. And I do feel calm when I come here. It is a safe place for me. It's my haven. Okay?
Right.
It's a little chaotic now because I've maxed out on the wall space and I've been like, you know, there's no, this is like the dollar table, you know, there's like all the little things, you know, but in any event.
Oh, I love this. The tape dispenser
Yeah,
with film negative.
It's actually, no, it's not, that's a typewriter ribbon.
Oh, it is. Oh,
Yeah, it
amazing.
fell down from here, but that's what it should be. It's just,
Wow.
yeah, as typewriter ribbon. Here, look at this, see? That's red film, right? Right? And look, green on the other.
Oh, wow.
You don't see that.
No, you
often.
don't see that. I don't even know how you start to make something like
Well, that's another thing. This is a fishing reel from a fishing rod,
that. Wow.
you know, 60 millimeter wide.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so someone once said to me, if you had to take one thing out of here, what's the most important thing? And I have an answer,
Okay.
and it's a no-brainer for me. When I was 12 years old, I'm not gonna tell you how old I am, but someone can do the math. When I was 12 years old, in 1968, that was the year that Martin Luther King was assassinated. And the school that I went to gave an award called the Martin Luther King Jr. Citizenship Award. Wow. First, in honor of his passing, and there was like a special assembly, and a whole school was there, and because they didn't tell me what's going on. And then my mother's there, they gave me this award, the Martin Luther King Jr. Citizenship Award in 1968, PS 104 in Queens.
Wow.
And I got this plaque, and to me, that's like the most important thing that's in this whole place. Wow. I'm so connected to that.
And what does that represent for you?
You know, well, as a good citizen, I know that's a silly answer. I'm not sure. I was 12 years old, so I don't know how much in control I was of who I was,
Yeah.
how well I knew what I was or anything, but I'm just glad that the teachers and the principal and the people at the school who initiated this award thought enough of me as a 12-year-old. Actually, I wasn't even 12 yet, I was 11. But the point is, someone thought enough of me for whatever reason to give me that. And that's enough for me,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, I could go into more detail about what I did at the school and all the different roles I had and all that, but it's not necessary for now because we have more things to talk about. But on some level, when I was 11 years old at PS 104 in Queens, it was like the peak of my life, actually, to be honest with you. But I don't need to go into the details. Everything then has just been down.
It's just been downhill from there. You peaked early.
I peaked early, yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to say that.
That's
because
great.
That's in this whole place with all these things, you know, ceiling to floor, all these things. It's this thing. Oh, that's a good shot. Hold on. I got my reflection in this one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Citizen. Alan Berliner.
Yeah. Citizen of the world. Okay, a little shaky, but I think that's good.
All right, so you were going to tell me.
So yeah,
OU's story.
so OU in effect recruited me, and the School of Art at the University of Oklahoma recruited me. They gave me a fellowship for an MFA fellowship. They asked me to teach. They paid me for teaching. They gave me a faculty studio and a faculty office. And it was pretty amazing, though I had no idea what any of those things meant, but it just felt good. So I taught film there with all the love and care and passion that I still have to this day, except because I was the only filmmaker at the beginning, and then there wasn't much a community of filmmakers at the graduate school level. All my friends now were painters and sculptors and photographers and mixed media artists, etc. So guess what? They brought me there to be a filmmaker, to teach film, and I taught film, but I didn't make any films when I was there.
Which makes a lot of sense because you are the second person who I consider to be kind of a mentor to me who has gone to OU. And I know from talking to Bradley Beasley, who we've had on the podcast, who went to OU, that their film program is really mixed in with the fine arts program, and it was very experimental.
Right, exactly.
Performance art, installation, sculpture.
Absolutely.
And he would make the wildest videos that would count as course credit.
And they never, at the time James Benning was teaching there, and John Connect, and I mean.
James Benning taught at OU?
Yeah.
Our company produced a film that was about Richard Linklater and James Benning's relationship. Yeah, it's a documentary about the two of them.
I haven't seen that. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
That'd be great. And by the way, I mean, not that they would have any problem with it, but the administration of the School of Art, I never got hassled, but I didn't make any films. And just so you know, there were very few places in the country where you could study experimental film at that time.
Right.
Like on a handful.
Yeah.
There were openings at 2 of them. I don't know. I put my hat in the ring by sending out, as one did I sent slides, like transparencies, thinking, well, we're in this experimental film world. What about a filmmaker who doesn't make films, but does whatever, paper films I was making and early ancestors of everything you see here.
Right.
And guess what? Didn't get a job. Maybe it wasn't good enough, even though it was the late 70s, no one bought into that. It was too weird still. Who knows? I just didn't get a job. So I came back to New York. But if I had gotten a job at, Milwaukee or Hampshire College or one of the few places, my life would be totally different.
Interesting. And so was that your intention going into a graduate program like that, was to go be an art
I guess
professor?
So, to teach. Yeah, I guess so. I remember Larry Gottheim, who was my professor at Binghamton, when we talked about, because they contacted him about me. Someone told them about me, so they contacted him, and I said to him, so this is Oklahoma, like, where is that? And he said, in the arts, it's what you do, it's not where you do it. That was a big insight for me, and that's true. I would say that to anyone.
I feel like in a way that has been a lesson that I learned the hard way.
Oh, really?
Because after Winnebago Man, which is where you and I met,
sure.
that was such a unexpected success for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the Tonight Show, got managers and agents in Hollywood. I was having lunch with celebrities. I was being told that I could write my ticket.
Yeah.
And I did the cliched LA thing where I said, well, I'm done with documentaries and I'm going to go make big budget feature Hollywood comedies.
Right.
And if I had it to do over, I would have brought all my friends along with me, and I would have stayed making the films that I was making, that I fell in love with making. And I feel like part of me doing this podcast, part of all my work since then has been almost like an amends, as like I made a misstep and now I'm coming back to correct it in some way.
Right.
Because I think that documentary, much in the same way that art making and sculptural pieces have always been, and collecting and archiving have been part of your personality.
Yeah.
I feel like there is sort of like a documentary gene that people have, where you make people comfortable, or you're attracted to nonfiction stories, or you just have the innate curiosity about real life storytelling that you in a way you can't teach. It's like you have it or you don't.
Absolutely, I agree.
Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Alan, I very early on in my career as a documentary filmmaker, I discovered your film Nobody's Business, and I very quickly devoured the rest of your films that you had made at that time. I watched, oh gosh.
Intimate
I'm sorry.
Stranger?
Thank you, Intimate Stranger, which
did
was, that was
Family
your
Album.
first film, correct?
Actually, the family album was my first film.
Oh, the
long
family
film
album.
feature. Then
Okay.
Intimate Stranger is about my grandfather, and Nobody's Business about my father.
Is about your father, and then Sweetest Sound was about you. So that's
My name, yeah.
very interesting. You can sort of trace that you started with making a film about all families,
Yeah.
then about your grandfather, then your father, then you.
Yeah.
I never thought of it in that way.
Yeah.
Did you understand that you were doing that while you were doing it?
Everyone said you're getting closer to and deeper towards something,
Yeah.
which is you. When are you going to make a film about you?
Interesting.
And because the thing about the family album, which had the good fortune of showing at Sundance, and people would interview me, the journalists would say, "Oh, or Q&A questions, wow, you're an expert on the family. You're an expert on the family." And I'm not an expert in anything really, but the point is, I said to myself, how can you be an expert? Let me rephrase. You can't be an expert on the family unless you're an expert on your own family. That seemed rhetorically and personally true to me.
Yes. Yeah.
So I knew about my grandfather, who had been in the middle of writing his autobiography when I was a kid, and then he died in the middle of it, and my uncle boxed up all of the papers and he saved every letter he ever wrote. He saved every letter he ever received, and the envelopes. He just saved everything. Wow. So in my uncle's office for almost 20 years after he died, there was these 15 or so very large boxes growing moldy and dusty and everything. And I just said, whatever's in that, whatever is in those boxes, I'm going to make a film about my grandfather.
And was that is that what pulled you into documentary, or had you always been interested in documentary film?
Can I be really honest with you?
Yes.
I never thought about documentary.
Yeah.
I never thought of myself, I've never even told anyone I'm a documentary filmmaker. It's not what I ever wanted to be or thought of myself or identified as. I just said, I'm going to make a film about my grandfather, whatever it is. It just so happens that the documentary film community was a place that was interested in that kind of work. And then people describe them as essays. I'm okay with that, Personal filmmaking, I'm okay with that, Experimental documentary, okay, if you must, I never set out to become a documentary filmmaker. I still to some extent don't identify, although that is the church that would have me, I get that. I'm just making my films, that's all.
I deeply relate to that. I was a creative writing major, and for me it was always about telling stories.
Yeah.
And the way that I did it and could do it and had access to it just came out as documentaries.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
always kind of gone that way for me. I don't even think I understood what a documentary was until college, when somebody told me, here's the history of documentary filmmaking.
Sure. But now there are documentary courses all over the country, and
Sure.
people teach and people are taught, and there's a canon and all that stuff, But it's interesting because I connect the story I just told you about the boxes and my grandfather's. By the way, even when I said to his family, my mother and her three brothers, my three uncles and my mother, what was so special about him, because I didn't really know that he wanted to write his autobiography. Like, that's pretty bold, narcissistic thing to do.
Right.
And I don't even say that negatively, I'm not about him. And they said, we don't know, he led an interesting life. Okay, a lot of people lead interesting lives.
Sure.
But he thought it was something beyond that, apparently.
Wow.
Or he just thought his life was interesting. Listen, it was also his retirement project.
Yeah.
But he thought he had something
To offer.
he thought a legacy to leave.
Sure.
That's fine. But when I said, because the way I introduce this new film that I've made, Benita, is I say, like all of my films, and I'm really thinking back especially to every film, but even especially to the one with my grandfather, Intimate Stranger. With Benita, her family gave me her archive. They gave me her journals, her notebooks, her photographs, her letters, but they also gave me 40 hard drives.
Wow.
Okay? And so the way that I introduced Benita is it began as a hunch. which turned into a leap of faith, which eventually became what I refer to as a sustaining intuition. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what form the film will take, how the story will get told. I never make a treatment. I've never written a treatment in my life, to be honest with you, ever. And so whatever's there, I will work with. And I didn't know what it was going to be like with my father and with my grandfather, nor with my father, or even my cousin Ed when I made a film about my cousin Ed when First Cousin Once Removed. I didn't know. I mean, I know it's a journey, and I know I'm going to discover things along the way. I'm going to put things together. I'm going to make discoveries. I'm going to start here and end up there. However, you know, whatever it is, it's going to be a storytelling adventure, one way or the other. And I did that with this new film, Benita, too. I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I started, and I'm okay with that. You know?
But can I just ask you, as somebody who, you know, you've won 3 Emmys, you've had films play at Sundance, you are a lauded, successful, supported filmmaker. You have had to get grants, raise money to make your films. How is it possible that you've never written a treatment?
I've never had to. I don't know why. I never had to.
So when you got a MacArthur grant, for
I never
example,
got a MacArthur grant. I got a Guggenheim Fellowship.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Rockefeller Fellowship.
So when you get fellowships,
I've written a proposal, but proposal's not a treatment.
I see.
You know, I mean, for instance, I made a film called The Sweetest Sound about my name.
Yes, one of my all-time favorites. I tell that story all the time about how you found every Alan Berliner in the world and invited them to your house for dinner.
Exactly.
So such a beautiful
idea. Well, thanks. But the point is, I wrote a proposal in which I said I'm going to invite them to dinner, and I intend to ask them some questions, but I have no idea what they're going to say. You know, you can't predict that, and whatever they say, you know, like, where will that lead me to? What new questions will that lead me to ask? You can't predict that. You don't want to predict that.
Right.
The way I often say is, like, if you write a treatment, if you write something in which your film's going to start here and end there, you know, then all you're going to know is that line. You know, that's not what filmmaking is. What about stuff that happens underneath the line or above the line or outside the line and this side or that or through the line or zigzag? You know, if the whole idea is just to get from here to there, that's all you'll, and if you get there, okay, you succeeded, you achieved something.
Yeah.
But I'm not interested in that, you know?
You're interested in the process.
I'm interested in the process where it takes me. So
can I ask you, because I understand that the reason where we're sitting, I've heard you say that you set it up this way so that you could have a thought and then very quickly act on it.
Act at the speed of thought.
Act at the speed of thought.
Yeah.
And so you have all of this meticulously labeled archival material available to you so that when you have a thought while you're working on a film, you can jump up and grab a piece of archival material to then use in your film. And so I'm wondering, and based off of what you just said, that you don't know where you're going often when you're telling the story, do you feel like your job as an artist is similar to how Rick Rubin has described it, where you're almost like an antenna and the ideas come to you, you are sort of accessing a wavelength that maybe is specific to you and that you are then able to act on that, and often it's this intuitive sort of almost otherworldly muse, for lack of a better word, that is driving you to tell these stories. Like, is that sort of too highfalutin?
No. I mean, I respect that. I accept that. That's certainly, it's not how I would, it's not the word, those are not the words I would use.
Yes, please tell me the words you would
well,
use.
I can try. And there are a lot of different ways I think about what I do.
Yeah.
You know, I like the word antenna, you know. In the case of this Benita film, the film Benita that I just finished, I certainly was channeling Benita, you know, bringing her into the room with me. In fact, I think of the film as a collaboration, which is a special case.
Yeah.
In the case of that particular project, I brought up Intimate Stranger and I brought up Benita. In both cases, the first part of working on the film is, I wouldn't call it research, but in the case of Benita, let's just say, I spent a year just reading her notebooks and journals and looking through the hard drives, 40 hard drives.
Wow.
You know, so it could take me 2 weeks to just get through one of them. And by the way, there would be folders with 8,000 photographs just with numbers for names, you know, like our cell phones give it IMG and then a number.
Right.
There'd be, you know, maybe the folder would have a name, you know, shots in Central Park or something, and then would just be 8,000. And you know, you don't know what's there unless you look. I'm patient, I'm obsessive, you know, I'm passionate about what I do. I'm persistent. So I look through every one. Wow. That's what I do. If I'm in a bad mood, or not usually in a bad mood, but if I'm tired, I'll get to it the next day. But I want to make sure that I look through everything.
Wow.
Okay? Because that's the due diligence that my son is a filmmaker. He does fiction.
Okay.
But I often have told him that it's harder to cut the onions in the kitchen than it is to actually cook the meal. Mm-hmm. You know, by way of analogy. And I mean that. Like, I spent a year pulling things, looking for things, making notes on things, without necessarily understanding how I would do anything.
Right.
But at least I knew the landscape.
Right.
You know.
You sort of you understood the ingredients.
Absolutely. I'm making notes and things, and I'm having ideas, and so it's really about you know, the antenna. I like the idea of antenna, but it's really about this intuitive process of taking things in, making connections between things, allowing things to gestate and grow and evolve, you know? Because I do things mostly by myself, there's a kind of synthesis that takes place that doesn't get vetted out into the world until later. You know, I don't have a producer that I'm talking to. I mean, I talk to my wife, Sherry, a lot about what I'm doing, and she, you know, in the case of Benita, she was her childhood friend, so she knew her, and that's who Sherry introduced me to.
I was going to ask you about that, because Benita is the first film that you've made about somebody who isn't a direct family member of yours.
Yeah,
but she was a close friend and fellow filmmaker.
Sherry knew her in high school. They went to high school together. They were friends, like best friends for a year, and then they didn't see each other for like 30 years.
Wow.
You know. So.
And did you work with her professionally prior to this?
No, never. Sherry introduced me to her. Sherry saw that she was had become a filmmaker. Sherry's married to a filmmaker, so she suggested Benita come to an event that where I was presenting some stuff. Benita did. She introduced us. We said to Benita, I said, nice to meet you. I'd love to see your films. Benita sent us some DVDs of her work. I looked. I was rather impressed. I made we scheduled a time that I could give her some feedback in person. We met. Then through you know, some mysterious process, I somehow became Benita's mentor. You know, it's never formally asked that I know of, but it just sort of happened. And so when Benita took her life, and the family contacted me, and I didn't know anything about her family, her mother, her sister. They contacted me, and because Benita had mentioned them to me, so they knew that Benita trusted me, and they knew that I had a friendship with her and so forth. And so, not to get too deep into the story, but they had originally asked me if I would be interested in finishing the film that Benita had been working on when she died. And I talked it over with Sherry. It's not something that no one could finish Benita's films. They're rather unique, and they're her spirit. Yeah. I won't go into the details now, but I made some discoveries in her hard drives that changed the way I look at her life, changed the way I understand her death, changed the way, informed the way, and changed the way I thought about structuring the film. I never would have known.
Right.
You know, unless I had done that.
And this film is about a friend of your wives who became your mentee, who took her life.
Who became a friend. I became a creative advisor to her. You were mentioning earlier that she's not a family member.
Right.
Right? And I became her mentor. All right? And when someone passes away, when someone takes their life by suicide, there's shock, right? And once you get past, and it takes a long time to get past the what, where, when, how, and why that happened. It's normal. How'd she do it? Where'd she do it? Who found her? All those kind of questions, which are normal. That's natural. I started to think about my relationship with her. And I thought about this mentoring thing. And I started to think things like mentoring is a lot more than just giving her notes on her films. You know, that shot's on too long. Maybe you could put that sequence over here and flip that and extend that shot. It's way beyond that. Mentoring is about, amongst other things, it's about trying to help someone understand that they have a process, they have a way of looking at the world, they have a way of going about processing the world, interpreting the world, and transforming the world, taking the world apart, and then what art is in many ways is putting the world back together. And so it's about mentoring way beyond this idea of giving notes on the specific project. It's about enabling someone to trust their process. You show them that it's there, then now you have to trust it and believe in it, you know, even if it means, you know, you get lost. Like, you're still on a path. It's okay. It's okay to get lost. It's part of the process is you're finding your way back again. All of that. And so I thought that with all the films I've ever made, it's a very common mistake. I always thought it's like, oh, I'm making a film about my grandfather. I'm making a film about my father. I'm making a film about my cousin. Like, it's about them as if it's, you know, something outside of me. But in the end, every portrait I've ever made has always been about my relationship with that person. Okay? In the case of my family, you know, father, grandfather, cousin. And it is true, when you make a film about a family member, one of the main implicit assumptions is that anything that I learn about them, I'm learning about me. Genetically, genealogically, culturally, personally. There's something about our family connectedness that whether there's anything to teach me or something that I can internalize and maybe understand myself better in some way, that's like a given. But that's one of the challenges here in the case of Benita, that I didn't have that implicit assumption. But I did have this relationship with her, which was very unique. We were friends. She trusted me and I believed in her. Or did she believe in me and I trusted her? It's all good. But the point is, and I thought to myself, someone who I was trying to believe in herself, to learn how to believe in herself and her process, took her life. You know, did I fail her? Of course, she was in relationship with many different people in her world, but I'm just taking my relationship with her, taking it seriously to the utmost levels. Did I fail her? I don't know. Is there something I could have said differently? Is there anything I could have done differently? Both, you know? So I had that relationship was something worth exploring and became a perspective, a prism through which to look at my relationship with Benita. So that's one of the big storytelling. And in the end, based on my friendship with her and based on our working relationship, I decided to make the film a kind of collaboration. Outside of the interviews and a couple of photographs and a couple of little obvious things, everything in the film is something I got from Benita's archive.
Wow.
Everything.
Yeah.
From the music to every shot. I mean, it's all Benita's archive. So it's a collage, really.
That's incredible. I can't wait to see this film. And so it premiered at Doc NYC.
Yeah.
And where can people see this?
Well, no, it premiered at Doc NYC. It had 2 screenings, and then it just played at a theater in New York called the DCTV Firehouse Cinema. Played for 7 days. It was actually an Academy qualifying run. First time I've ever shown my film theatrically, ever.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, with one small caveat, in 1991 or 92, that taught me that I don't think that your films are ever going to show theatrically because it's not going to work, because that didn't work. And so I let go of that, of any aspiration, really. It wasn't a goal, and it never was a goal. And so, you know, I had the good fortune of showing Intimate Stranger, Nobody's Business, The Family Album, and The Sweetest Sound all on public television.
Yep.
So
those are all on POV,
all
right?
on POV, yeah. So I was reaching people lots of people that way.
Yes.
And then Wide Awake and First Cousin Once Removed were on HBO, and that also reached a lot of people. So I've sort of been saved the humiliation of not having my film shown anywhere.
Well, I just want to address what sounds like you saying that not having a theatrical experience was in some way a disappointment, because from where I sit, you having premiered films at Sundance, winning Emmys, having films play on HBO, those are all pinnacle experiences for documentary filmmakers to have, and that any documentary filmmaker, given any one of those, would feel like they had achieved something really significant. So
I don't mean to, there's a word for someone who talks like that. I don't mean to be, it's not hubris that I'm expressing here, hardly.
Yeah.
It's actually the opposite. It's resigned humility,
right.
And it's acceptance of the limitations of what I do.
Yeah.
And I embrace them. I don't, but I mean, many filmmakers also want their films to be shown in theaters. That's the thing,
Well, and you're such an interesting person to have this conversation with, because as somebody who has been supported by POV, which is, a PBS channel, and is largely funded by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Yeah.
And then, as we just mentioned, your film's played on HBO, which just this week it was announced that Netflix is acquiring Warner Brothers, which means Netflix is going to potentially own HBO.
Right.
It seems fairly dire out there right now for documentary filmmakers, and I'm just wondering what your thoughts are around this landscape.
Well, it's not good. The world, the documentary world as we know it, if all that stuff goes through, is allowed to get a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And the choices and the range and the landscape, the canvas is about to get a lot more circumscribed, and then under the control and under the auspices of fewer people. Well, fewer people means fewer visions for what cinema can be, what storytelling can be, what documentary can be, with implied cautionary notes here about more business-oriented decisions would be made as opposed to taking chances on things, even the things, especially the things that I do. I've always sometimes have to pinch myself that HBO let me make the films and embrace the films that I made. I mean, wow, I can't believe. And they let me make my film.
Right.
They really did.
Yeah.
And I'm incredibly grateful and still incredulous, really, about the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's likely to change, in this new era that we live in.
Yeah.
But it's only a symptom. It's only another symptom of very broad political, cultural changes in the media landscape that are frightening.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Another thing that links my films is that, think about the portraits now. Grandfather, father, cousin, and now Benita. What do they share? They share the idea, the a priori idea, that none of these people is anyone who should, by any objective standpoint or viewpoint, deserves public attention. They're not biographies waiting to be written,
Right. They're not the Charlie Sheen biopic.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I always love the idea that, again, these are not like career moves. You don't make these kind of films that, I wouldn't describe any of the films I made as good career moves. But I like the fact that I found myself in this place where I'm making films about ordinary people, unsung people.
Right.
I like that. It's not a reason that I do what I do, but I'm okay there.
Yeah.
Even my cousin Edwin, and I'm going to bring this back to the Benita thing in a second, even my cousin Edwin, and one way of describing First Cousin Once Removed is that it's the last 5 years of a life of a poet and translator who, as he metamorphosized through the sad journey of Alzheimer's disease, okay? But the thing is, Edwin doesn't have to be a great poet for that to be
any more or less true or any more true. Edwin was a poet, the real deal, self-defined, self-identified, teacher of poetry, writer of poetry, published, you know. But listen, Edwin, one of Edwin's little private struggles, remorse, one of source of his private remorse is that he can never even be poet laureate of Rhode Island. You know, the tiny state of Rhode Island. He never got to be poet laureate. And I say that lovingly, but it didn't matter to me. He was a real poet and he was losing his mind. And so I understood after making that film that there was such a thing as a poet's Alzheimer's. You know, like who you are, what you do affects your journey through memory loss. And if you take it seriously, as a family member or a friend, or even a person who's giving psychological help or to the family or to the person, like if you think about that, a poet's Alzheimer's, then that's how that can help you approach that person. My mother's losing her memory, you know, and she was a singer. Guess what? She can't even talk. She has no short-term memory, but guess what? I sing with her. She sings back with me. It's amazing.
Yeah.
A singer's Alzheimer's.
Wow.
You know, in 7 languages, because that's how she used to take pride in it. You know, French, Spanish, Arabic, whatever it is. And so, because of what I learned from the Edwin film, from making First Cousin Once Removed, it affects how I relate to my mother. And so all I'm saying is about Benita, I'm not trying to make this film to say, you know, Benita's someone who was under the radar, she was unsung and underappreciated, and I want to give her, make her famous and show you that she should have. If people think that she was worthy as a filmmaker and my film opened them up to her work, that's great. They want to look at her films. I'm happy that they're on a website. You can look at them. It's all good. But for the purposes of my story, Benita was an artist, a real artist, identified as an artist, lived like an artist, suffered like an artist, struggled like an artist, and conquered her mental health struggles and cope with them because she was an artist. So this was an artist's depression, an artist's anxiety, a filmmaker's. And so that's the point. You know, it's not, she should have been famous. You know, you missed it.
But that's what I love so much about your work is that you, without intending to do it, you are essentially saying that every person has a story that is worthy of attention and focus, and it contains beauty and reverence, and that is a radical idea.
Well, I don't think it's so radical. To me, it's common sense, but you've said it beautifully. I don't know if I can improve on that. Thank you for saying that and expressing that, but I very much believe in that. You know? I mean, in the end, any film that I've made, in the case of these portraits especially, it's about the meaning of a life lived. And every life has meaning, and every life has something to teach us, you know? In fact, I say in the end of the film has an epilogue, and I say to Benita, I address Benita in the epilogue, and I say that I like to think that there's a little part of each of us inside your story, you know? And that doesn't even have to be about mental health struggles, you know, or suicidal ideation. It could be because you're a filmmaker. It could be because you love dogs. Could be because you hate your job, you know? The film's about a lot of things. But there are any number of them that people can intersect with Benita's story. We live complicated lives with lots of parts, and they're interconnected. And the way that I'd like to describe it, in essence, is that, at least for the films that I make, I like the films to be both windows and mirrors. You know, windows in the sense that when you're sitting in a room or sitting in your living room watching the screen, the monitor, or in a theater where you're watching the projection, you're learning about someone's life. You know, someone who's not you, a woman, an artist, a filmmaker, lived in New York City, but you're learning about a life lived somewhere out in the world. And that's, you know, respectfully, there's an inherent fascination in a project of portraiture because we learn about other people that way. The mirror part is where, for me, it becomes, there are added dimensions of interest, fascination, and actually depth, which is that if the film that you're watching, if that window can become a mirror, and then you recognize some parts of yourself, a part of yourself, or part of your relationship with someone who's like that, or if you're like that in some relationship with someone else, whatever it is, if there's something in the story of that person that makes you reflect on your own life, on your own circumstances, on your own job, on your own mental health, on your own creative life, whatever it is, if it zaps you, touches you with some kind of warm shock of recognition, then I've succeeded. Window and mirror simultaneously. Sometimes at the same time, sometimes intermittently, but you know, that's to me, that's where it comes together. And that's what I aspire to do. And you know, you don't need to be famous for that to happen. It doesn't have to be someone who's in the cultural, a known cultural figure or in the zeitgeist as we see it, you know, because that's, every life holds that kind of resonance, you know, if it's done right.
Yeah,
you know.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Thanks.
Last question.
Sure.
This podcast, as I told you going into it, is we hope that this is for filmmakers who are just starting out, or who are just, you know, there's a blossoming love of documentary happening. They're learning from elder statesmen like yourself. So what would your advice be to a filmmaker just starting out? I read something that you wrote. Do you want me to kickstart it for you?
Sure. I mean, I have a lot of things to say, but I don't. But tell me, kickstart.
The bit that I read was about how you needed to follow something that you were irrationally curious or passionate about.
Well, for me, the two big criteria are fascination and need. You know, but I don't like to impose that on everyone, because everyone can have their own equation. It has to be something that I'm willing to spend a long time on, because I have endless fascination that I can learn, you know, I can read about, I can learn about, I can grow with over time. But for me, the most, even perhaps more important, is something I really need to do. You know, like it gnaws at me if I don't do it. It's like, you know, and so that's sort of like the high octane in the tank.
Right.
The need. Yes. Fascination and need. I would say that, jumping around a little bit, that filmmaking is hard. Could be one of the hardest things that you're ever going to do. But, I mean, it's also fun. So if you can figure out an equation to make what's hard also fun, you know, people are at their best when they're having fun. So figure out a way to make what's really difficult also fun. That's how you grow. That's how you that's how you learn, you know? And again, it gets back to that, we were talking about earlier about mentoring.
Yeah.
You know, understand that you have, everyone who's listening, you have your own way of processing the world, of thinking about the world. And there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. It's okay to have bad ideas. You learn from your mistakes, you learn from your bad ideas, because that's part of how you grow. It's all about growing, you know? No film is made like right away, snap like that. There's no such thing. I hope no one thinks that's remotely possible, you know? So understand that things take a little time. Trial and error is an important human experience in making things, and you get better by doing. You know, don't be afraid, don't self-sabotage, and I don't have enough money, I don't really understand what I have to do. You don't even have to understand everything about your film before you begin. And I'm a big believer in that. I mean, there has to be room to figure it out.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And trust. You have to trust yourself. It's supposed to be hard, and it's supposed to be fun. Figure out, make that equation work for you, and whatever you're doing.
I love it. And I just want to say here at the end, a heartfelt thank you for the movies that you've made, the work that you've produced, because I feel like they have inspired me, they have touched me, they made me laugh, they made me think about film in a new way. And they have brought me and my stepdad closer together. I've shared a story off camera with you about how my stepdad in north central Kansas is a very kind of no nonsense, small town lawyer, and he doesn't like a lot of movies that I bring home, and Nobody's Business is one of his all-time favorites that we still quote to each other. And he's a lot like your dad in the sense that he thinks of himself as small grain of sand in a large world of the beach, so to speak. And seeing your dad get the treatment of being the star of his own movie unwillingly tickled him so much. And I think it sort of helped open up his aperture to the idea that all kinds of people are deserving of that same kind of treatment. And there's a real love to the films that you make. And I feel like I have learned that lesson from you vicariously. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate that. And I just would say, whatever he's also probably more open to what you do.
Yeah.
Through that.
Yes.
It's allowed him to understand what you do, and on many levels, you know, that's helpful to your relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
So you're a filmmaker, you're an artist, you're a relationship coach, you're a therapist.
Whatever, it's all, you know, that's why the credits mean nothing. You know, really, I mean, producer, director, editor, writer, I mean, those are jobs, you know.
Right.
But I'm also, you know, father, son, husband, brother, cousin, uncle, you know. I'm a detective, private detective, I'm an anthropologist, I'm an archaeologist, I'm an archivist, I'm a librarian, a biographer, sociologist, psychologist. I mean, these are roles that we have in our work that are off the radar, you know, but they're the aptitudes and the affinities that shape the approach that allow for all these different strains and threads of being and of storytelling to enrich the telling of the portrait of the person.
But no matter all those other things, you think like a filmmaker.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love it. Alan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next time on Doc Walks.
Next time is all about impact. We're talking impact with Courtney Cook. Courtney is a longtime POV impact producer and educational consultant. She is a writer, she's an educator, she's got strong opinions on the state of presenting films in this modern world to connect with audiences in an impactful way. So if you're looking for impact, you're looking for next week's episode with Courtney Cook. Doc Walks is presented, directed, created, edited by myself and this guy.
Hello.
We couldn't do it without co-producer Dayton Thompson.
No, we couldn't. Thank you, Dayton.
Continues to knock it out of the park. Thank you, Dayton. And thanks to the folks at the Bear.
The folks at Go Valley, we have a team of interns that are working hard for us.
And thank you for sticking around. If you're still here, you're a diehard and we appreciate you. We'll catch you next time
on Doc Walks. Follow us at Doc Walks Pod on Instagram, X, and YouTube.